join in this historic journey to have the courage to choose change. It's time again for a new generation of leadership. It is time now for Barack Obama.
That was the American University speech last year. We're back. Joining us right now is Politico's Roger Simon and the Atlantic Media Political Director, Ron Brownstein. It's so great, gentlemen, to have you two on tonight. And I'm not going to lead you much at all. Roger, you first. Stories about Ted Kennedy. You're very good at finding these stories.
You know, after I heard the news last night, I went down to the basement and looked up my old Ted Kennedy columns. And, you know, he was always a great interview, but there was always this, I found anyway, this air of sadness over him and the rest of the family. I found a column I had done in October of 1974. This was a low point for Ted Kennedy. He had just been chased off the stage in Boston by anti-busing demonstrators who were shouting, "Impeach Kennedy." This was where he was, a tomato was thrown at him. A woman punched him in the shoulder as he left the stage. He had decided not to run in 1976 for president, even though he thought the Democrats could win. And yet he went to Southern Illinois to give a speech for Paul Simon, who was running for Congress. There was no national press there. I had come down from Chicago. That doesn't qualify as national press. And Kennedy gave everything for that speech. I mean, he gave a rip-roaring speech. And when it was all over, he went back to the airport, and he turned to his advance man, Jim King, and he said, "Did I do a good job? Did they like me? Was I good tonight?" And Jim King said, "Yes, Senator, they liked you. You did very well." It always amazed me that real politicians care about every speech, and they care about connecting to every crowd. And Ted Kennedy was like that.
So great. I had the same or similar experience in Utah in 1971 in the Wayne Owens campaign, where he came in there and gave a barn burner for his former aide. Ron, your thoughts, your memories of Ted as the politician, when he became the top Democrat in the country.
Yeah, the perfect complement to Roger's story. That was Ted Kennedy, the stem winder at the stump. My memory is of Ted Kennedy as the legislator on the inside of Congress, making change happen. And I remember talking to him in 2006 when he was engaged in very difficult, very arduous negotiations with Republicans like John McCain, business and labor, trying to pull together an immigration reform package with the Bush administration. And he was talking about the effort to kind of reach out beyond the traditional Democratic coalition and work with voices that were not often heard in Democratic councils, which became his hallmark, really, when he returned to the Senate after the 1980 presidential race. And I asked him what the tolerance level was for his negotiating with, on both sides, for McCain and him engaging in these negotiations. And he said, you know, the old guys understand it, but for the young guys, it's not where they're at. And in fact, you know, Ted Kennedy was, as I said today in the Atlantic, he was really the last of a breed, a senator who believed that an individual senator, through the dint of their intelligence and work and understanding, could build coalitions that wouldn't be formed otherwise and could make change happen that wouldn't happen otherwise. Now we're moving toward a much more parliamentary system where everybody's expected to stand with their own side against the other, and the opportunity for someone to do what Ted Kennedy did so well for almost 3 decades really is eroding.
A friend of mine who worked for the leadership said the worst thing ever happened in the U.S. Senate were those weekly lunches where they all get together and agree on being in the same party. They'd be better off being committee chairs again. By the way, as tribute to the fact that Ted Kennedy could put a coalition together, the people who were speaking at the wake on Friday night. This is an unusual format for a Catholic service, but it's going to be a wake up there in Boston. Joe Biden, the Vice President of the United States, who spoke so emotionally today, he's going to speak. John McCain of Arizona, who was the Republican nominee, he's going to speak. And John Kerry, the Jr., now senior senator from Massachusetts. Roger, it looks to me like a ticket that Ted Kennedy forged.
It was. As Ron said, he really could bring people together, but he cared about doing so, and now there's just not the same feeling. I know there's the natural instinct whenever a great man passes to say, oh, there'll never be giants like this again, and in the olden times everyone was great, not like now. But it is hard to view the passing of a figure like Ted Kennedy and look at people today in the Senate who are going to devote their lives, decades, to doing what he did, who would really care more about passing legislation than about advancing a partisan cause. It's very hard to see that, and I don't think that argues good things for the years ahead.
Yep.
Well, I'm feeling older and older. I tell you, I was in politics with Kirk O'Donnell and Tip O'Neill and Teddy Kennedy and Pat Moynihan, and they're all gone.